Commander Kethfar watched from his warship's control deck as flames consumed the planet beneath him. The giant viewing screen displayed fires racing across Kepler 442b's surface. Yet another settlement had chosen to fight back against the Empire. Yet another world would discover what happens when you resist. The commander stood exceptionally tall, impressive even among his fellow Superians. His blue-scaled body reflected the bridge's harsh lighting. His multiple arms worked smoothly as he checked combat summaries across several displays. His race had controlled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They'd crushed every civilization that challenged them. "Give me a status update," Kethfar ordered. His tone carried the confidence of someone never questioned. Captain Morvix, his deputy, moved closer. "The mining settlement's protection systems are offline. We've demolished their space defenses. Fighting on the ground has nearly stopped." Kethfar gave a slight nod. This pattern repeated itself constantly. The Empire's 7th Battle Group represented one of the galaxy's deadliest military powers. The flagship Dominion's fist by itself packed enough destructive power to obliterate whole solar systems. No settlement world could possibly resist them. "How many people are left?" the commander asked. "Around 2 million settlers survive below. They keep sending messages asking to surrender." "Disregard them," Kethfar stated without emotion. "Keep attacking. The Emperor demands this region be completely wiped clean. Nobody challenges the Empire and survives to warn others." The bridge personnel operated quietly. They'd performed this task countless times. Rebellious settlements got destroyed. Their inhabitants got eliminated. Other planets learned to follow orders without arguing. This defined the Empire's methods. Kethfar approached the battle map. Red markers indicated his vessel positions. 12 heavy battleships encircled the planet. 4 destroyers monitored the system's edges. The fight had ended almost before starting. "Commander," communications specialist Zelith spoke up. "We're picking up emergency calls from the planet. They're pleading with us to cease." "Block all their transmissions," the commander directed. "No information about this must escape before we complete our mission." The Empire had mastered the strategy of terror. When settlements rebelled, they vanished entirely. No survivors meant nobody to testify. No testimony meant no heroes to spark future uprisings. The approach was straightforward and worked perfectly. Kethfar examined the battle map once more. Something seemed unusual about this mission. Intelligence. Briefings had warned this settlement possessed stronger defenses than typical. They'd actually managed to eliminate 2 Imperial scout vessels before the 7th Battle Group showed up. That rarely happened. Most settlements collapsed within mere hours. "Give me sensor readings," he commanded. Lieutenant Havoc rotated from his workstation. "Every Imperial ship is correctly positioned. We detect no hostile vessels anywhere in this system. The settlement's space defenses are gone. What about weapons on the surface? Barely a concern. Just standard mining tools and building equipment. Nothing capable of reaching our orbital position." Kethfar felt content. The settlement had resisted more than anticipated, but victory was never uncertain. The Empire's capabilities far exceeded anything these backward settlers could manufacture. The commander settled into his command seat. It was constructed from bones taken from a creature whose planet the Empire had conquered 50 years earlier. That entire species no longer existed. Such souvenirs served as reminders of Imperial dominance. "Start the final attack sequence," he directed. "I want this planet lifeless within 2 hours." The weapons operator began selecting the planet's largest population centers. Energy beams shot downward from the Imperial vessels. Each strike could turn buildings into vapor and transform sand into molten glass. The settlers possessed no defense against such overwhelming force. Kethfar observed the devastation with emotionless approval. This explained why the Empire ruled the galaxy. They commanded the mightiest vessels, the deadliest weapons, and the determination to use them mercilessly. Other species showed weakness. They worried about things like innocent people and accepting surrender. Such weakness made defeating them simple. "Commander," sensor specialist Havoc suddenly called out. His voice carried confusion. "I'm reading an energy disturbance." Kethfar's focus intensified. "What type of disturbance?" "Unknown, Commander. It looks like some sort of space warping. The data doesn't match our records. The commander frowned. In 30 years of military service, he'd witnessed every kind of space anomaly. Solar eruptions, gravity distortions, quantum tempests. Nothing surprised him these days, yet his sensor specialist sounded genuinely baffled. "Display it," Kethfar ordered. The primary screen switched to sensor information. A peculiar ripple emerged, in space roughly 20,000 kilometers from the fleet. It resembled waves traveling through invisible liquid. Energy measurements jumped erratically. "Could this be natural?" the commander asked. "No, Commander. The energy signatures are too consistent, too deliberate. This appears manufactured." Kethfar felt coldness spread through him. Manufactured meant technology. Technology meant another civilization. But that couldn't be. Imperial intelligence had mapped this whole sector. No advanced societies existed within 100 light years. "All vessels, elevated caution," he commanded. "Continue the attack, but ready yourselves for potential encounter." The bridge crew responded with heightened alertness. Elevated caution signaled possible danger. The 7th Battle Group hadn't encountered real danger in more than 5 years. Most recent assignments involved straightforward settlement eliminations. The space distortion expanded. Energy measurements climbed continuously. Whatever generated this phenomenon possessed enormous power. Truly enormous. "Commander," Havoc reported, "the distortion keeps growing. Energy output now exceeds our instrument's limits." Kethfar gripped his command seat tightly. Throughout his entire career, he'd never faced technology that overwhelmed Imperial sensors. The Empire's science represented the galaxy's pinnacle. They'd conquered hundreds of species and absorbed their expertise. "Could this be some weapon?" Captain Morvix questioned. "Uncertain," the commander answered. "All vessels, maximum alert. Stop the attack and prepare for battle." The Imperial fleet shifted into protective arrangement. The Dominion's fist moved forward while the battleships formed a defensive barrier. Destroyers took flanking positions. This formation had never let them down. The space distortion reached maximum size. Energy measurements peaked beyond comprehension. Then abruptly, space itself appeared to split apart. Something came through the opening. Kethfar stared at the view screen in astonishment. A vessel emerged from the distortion, but it looked completely unlike anything he'd ever witnessed. The craft was smooth and geometric, built using design concepts that seemed impossible. Its exterior was deep gray with unfamiliar symbols that matched no known species. "Give me information," he demanded. "Ship length about 800 meters, Havoc announced. Design unrecognized. Exterior material unknown. Energy output. Commander, their power generation reads as impossible." "Impossible in what way?" "Their energy source seems to produce more power than our complete fleet combined, but that can't be right." Kethfar studied the mysterious vessel. It was smaller than his flagship, yet appeared vastly more sophisticated. The hull design indicated remarkable engineering talent. No wasted material, no extra parts. Everything had clear purpose. "Try contacting them," he ordered. Communications specialist Zealith worked his controls. "No answer on standard channels, Commander. They're not responding to our signals." The mysterious vessel moved nearer to the Imperial fleet. Its movement was unhurried and calculated. Something threatening characterized how it moved, like a predator examining its target. "Weapon condition?" Kethfar asked. "Every Imperial ship reports combat ready," the weapons operator answered. "Energy cannons charged, missile launchers loaded." The commander weighed his choices. This mysterious vessel might scout for a bigger fleet. It might carry weapons beyond Imperial comprehension. Or it might be harmless explorers who wandered into dangerous territory. But Kethfar hadn't achieved commander rank by gambling. The Empire's rules were explicit. Eliminate unknown threats before they become problems. "Lock onto the mysterious vessel," he commanded. "Prepare to attack on my signal." The bridge crew targeted weapons at the strange craft. Targeting computers confirmed solid connection. The Imperial fleet's combined destructive capability could annihilate any known vessel within seconds. The mysterious craft continued approaching. It made no aggressive actions, displayed no signs of readying weapons, yet something about its presence felt dangerous. Very dangerous. Commander Zealoth called out. I'm receiving a message from the mysterious vessel. Is it clear? Yes, Commander. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies in flawless Galactic Standard. Kethfar felt surprised. Galactic Standard was the Empire's official tongue. Only Imperial citizens and conquered peoples knew it. How could an unknown civilization speak it so perfectly? Let me hear it, he ordered. A voice filled the bridge. It was composed, steady, and carried an accent Kethfar had never encountered. Imperial fleet, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Commonwealth vessel Retribution. You will immediately stop your assault on the civilian population below and remove your forces from this system. Silence consumed the bridge. In 3,000 years of Imperial history, nobody had ever commanded the Empire. No species had ever made demands of Imperial forces. The boldness defied understanding. Kethfar felt rage building inside him. These unknown beings, these Terrans, dared command him. They dared interfere with Imperial business. Open a channel, he ordered. Channel open, Commander. The commander's voice carried all Imperial authority. Unknown vessel. You are disrupting lawful Imperial business. This system falls under Imperial control. Withdraw now or face destruction. The answer came rapidly. The human voice stayed composed, almost disinterested. Commander, your current activities represent mass murder against civilians. This is unacceptable. You have 60 seconds to follow our demands. Kethfar couldn't accept what he heard. A single mysterious vessel was threatening the whole 7th Battle Group. The arrogance was incredible. Captain Morvix, he said calmly, remind me how many civilizations have successfully threatened the Empire. None, Commander, Morvix answered. Every species that opposed us has been destroyed. The commander smiled without warmth. Precisely. And these Terrans will discover the same lesson. He opened the channel again. Unknown vessel, you have 10 seconds to exit this system. After that, you will be eliminated. The countdown started. 10 seconds to save themselves from the Imperial fleet's might. 10 seconds to understand the pointlessness of opposing the Empire. The mysterious vessel, the Retribution, didn't move to withdraw. It simply waited as though the Imperial threat was meaningless. The 10 seconds elapsed. Attack, Commander Kethfar ordered. The Imperial fleet released its fury. Energy beams and missiles exploded from every vessel. Enough destructive power to shatter a moon focused on the mysterious craft. The energy assault hit the Terran vessel and simply vanished. Kethfar stared in shock. The Retribution floated undamaged in space. Its protective shields had absorbed the complete Imperial attack without any visible damage. Energy readings showed the human craft had somehow transformed the incoming energy and channeled it into their own power supplies. That can't be, Captain Morvix whispered. The human voice came back colder this time. That was your warning shot, Commander. This is ours. The Retribution fired one beam of pure white energy. It lasted under a second. The Imperial destroyer Victory's Edge simply stopped existing. No explosion, no wreckage. One instant it was present, the next it was absent. Kethfar experienced fear for the first time in decades. The Empire's most advanced destroyer had been erased instantly. The power needed for such destruction exceeded Imperial science. What are we confronting? He asked softly. Nobody on the bridge could answer. The mysterious human vessel waited in space as though destroying an Imperial destroyer meant nothing to them, as though the entire 7th Battle Group posed no danger whatsoever. Commander Kethfar understood that everything had shifted. The Empire had met something new, something dangerous, something that might actually challenge their 3,000-year dominance. The galaxy's worst fear had materialized, and it spoke with a human voice. Commander Kethfar stared at the vacant space where Victory's Edge had existed moments earlier. His mind fought to understand what had occurred. Imperial destroyers weren't supposed to simply disappear. They were constructed with the galaxy's toughest armor. They carried shields capable of surviving direct strikes from stellar weapons. Yet this mysterious human vessel had deleted one with a single shot. Sensor analysis, he commanded, his voice strained with control. Lieutenant Havoc operated frantically at his workstation. Commander, the weapon signature matches nothing in our records. It seems to have been some type of directed antimatter stream. But the containment technology exceeds our comprehension. Antimatter weapons remained theoretical for the Empire. Their scientists had attempted to develop them for centuries, but could never resolve the containment challenges. The energy needed to control antimatter was massive. The dangers were too extreme. Yet these humans had just employed such a weapon as routinely as firing a basic laser. Commander, Captain Morvik said quietly, perhaps we should reconsider our situation. Kethfar turned to glare at his deputy. Are you suggesting we flee from a single enemy vessel? Commander, they just eliminated one of our ships effortlessly. Their technology seems to be considerably more advanced than ours. The commander felt fury growing in his chest. The Empire did not flee. They did not negotiate from positions of vulnerability. For 3,000 years they had been the galaxy's dominant force. No single vessel could alter that. All vessels maintain position, he ordered. Ready for complete assault. Formation Omega. Formation Omega was the Imperial fleet's most devastating attack pattern. Every vessel would concentrate maximum firepower on a single target. The combined energy output could destroy space stations or capital ships. Commander, the communications specialist interrupted. The human vessel is transmitting again. Let me hear it. Captain Chen's voice filled the bridge once more. She still sounded composed, as though erasing an Imperial destroyer was routine. Commander, you seem to be struggling to grasp the situation. Let me explain. We know about your empire. We know about your conquest of this galaxy. We know about the billions of innocent lives you've eliminated. Kethfar felt a chill. How could these humans understand Imperial history? Their vessel had appeared from nowhere. No intelligence briefings mentioned any species called Terrans. The human captain continued. We also know about your current operation here. The murder of 2 million settlers. This ends now. Who are you? The commander demanded. What species? What star system? We are humans from a planet called Earth, and we are here to stop you. Earth. The name held no meaning for Kethfar. Imperial star maps contained no world by that designation. These humans claimed to originate from somewhere completely unknown. Impossible, he said. Imperial intelligence has mapped this entire galactic sector. No advanced civilizations exist beyond our territory. A sound came through the communication channel. It took the commander a moment to identify it as laughter. Your intelligence is not as thorough as you assume, Captain Chen answered. We have been observing you for considerable time, Commander, learning about your tactics, your technology, your vulnerabilities. The word struck Kethfar like a physical impact. The Empire had vulnerabilities? Their technology was the galaxy's most advanced. Their military had never been defeated. You're lying, he said. No species possesses technology superior to the Empire. Would you like a demonstration? Before the commander could respond, the retribution moved. The human vessel accelerated at impossible velocities, covering thousands of kilometers in seconds. Imperial sensors couldn't follow something moving that rapidly. The Terran craft stopped directly before the Dominion's fist. At this distance, the flagship's weapons could not fail to hit, but the humans had positioned themselves in the most exposed location possible. Commander, Havoc reported. They're performing detailed scans of our vessel. Their sensors are penetrating our shields as though they don't exist. That can't be. Imperial shielding technology is impenetrable. Commander, they're accessing our computer networks. Kethfar felt panic emerging. The Empire's military computers held classified information about fleet movements, weapon specifications, and strategic plans. If an enemy accessed that data, it could compromise operations across the galaxy, activate security measures, shut down all external connections. I'm attempting that, Commander. But their intrusion software is bypassing every security measure. It's as though our defenses aren't even present. The primary viewing screen flickered and changed. Instead of displaying the tactical map, it now showed Captain Chen sitting in what appeared to be the bridge of the human craft. She was smaller than Kethfar had anticipated. Humans appeared to be roughly the same dimensions as most galactic species. Her skin was light, her hair dark, and her eyes displayed an intelligence that made the commander uneasy. Greetings, Commander Kethfar, she said as though they were old acquaintances. Thank you for granting us access to your vessel's computers. Very useful. How do you know my identity? Your personnel records are quite comprehensive. Born on Zephyr Prime. Graduated top of your class from the Imperial Naval Academy. 43 years of service. 216 worlds conquered. Estimated civilian deaths under your leadership. 800 million. The accuracy of the information shocked Kethfar. Those records were classified at the highest levels. Only the Emperor himself should possess access to such data. What do you want? He asked. Simple. Remove your fleet from this system. Allow the settlers to evacuate safely. End your campaign of mass murder. And if I refuse? Captain Chen's expression grew cold. Then we will stop you ourselves. The commander laughed, though he felt no amusement. You have one vessel. We have 13. Our combined destructive power could eliminate entire fleets. Could it? The human asked. Let's discover the answer. The viewing screen returned to tactical display. But now it showed something that made Kethfar's blood turn cold. The Retribution was no longer alone. Vessels were appearing throughout the system, dozens of them. Each one was as smooth and advanced as the first human craft. They emerged from nothing, their technology allowing them to bypass every Imperial sensor. How many vessels do you command? The commander whispered. Sufficient, Captain Chen answered. Kethfar counted the ships appearing on his sensors. 20, 30, 40. More kept materializing. Each one displayed the same impossible energy readings as the Retribution. This is the Terran Commonwealth Third Fleet, Captain Chen announced. 57 vessels. We are here to ensure the safety of the settlers below, and to demonstrate that your empire's expansion ends today. The commander's mind raced. 57 vessels was a significant force, but the Imperial 7th Battle Group had confronted larger enemies before. Numbers alone would not ensure victory. But these weren't ordinary vessels. The technology difference was enormous. If every human craft could eliminate Imperial vessels as easily as the Retribution had, then the 7th Battle Group was already defeated. Commander, Captain Morvik said quietly, recommend we contact Imperial Command for reinforcements. Do it. Send a priority message to Fleet Headquarters. Tell them we have encountered an unknown enemy with superior technology. Communications Specialist Zelith worked at his workstation, then looked up with confusion. Commander, our long-range communications are being blocked. I can't establish contact with Imperial territory. The humans had severed their ability to request help. The 7th Battle Group was isolated, outnumbered, and outmatched. Captain Chen's voice returned. Commander, you have one final chance to withdraw peacefully. Order your vessels to exit the system. Allow the settlers to evacuate to safety. Nobody else needs to perish today. Kethfar considered his choices. Retreat would be humiliating. It would be the first time in Imperial history that a battle group had withdrawn, facing enemy opposition. His career would end. His reputation would be destroyed. But remaining meant fighting an enemy he didn't comprehend with technology he couldn't counter. What guarantee do I have that you won't attack us if we withdraw? He asked. You have my word as a Terran Commonwealth officer. We are not here to conquer or destroy. We are here to protect innocent lives. The concept was alien to Kethfar. The Empire conquered to expand territory and resources. They destroyed enemies to prevent future threats. The idea of military intervention purely to protect strangers made no sense. Why do you care about these settlers? They are not your people. Because mass murder is wrong, Commander. Because every species has the right to exist. Because power should be used to protect, not destroy. Such thinking was weakness in Imperial philosophy. The strong ruled the weak. The advanced conquered the primitive. This was the natural order of the universe. But these humans had demonstrated strength beyond Imperial capabilities. Their technology was superior. Their tactics were sophisticated. Their coordination was flawless. If they were weak, what did that make the Empire? Commander, Havoc reported, I'm detecting massive energy buildups from all human vessels. They're preparing to attack. Kethfar looked at the tactical display. 57 enemy vessels surrounded his fleet, each one capable of eliminating Imperial craft with single shots. If they opened fire simultaneously, the 7th Battle Group would be annihilated in seconds. Commander, Captain Chen said, I need your decision. Withdraw or we will remove you ourselves. The moment stretched endlessly. 3,000 years of Imperial supremacy balanced on Kethfar's choice. Flee and admit weakness or fight and face certain destruction. Pride battled with survival instinct. The Empire had never surrendered, never retreated, never shown weakness to any enemy. But the Empire had never confronted humans before. All vessels, the commander said slowly, prepare to withdraw from the system. Captain Morvik stared at him in shock. Commander, you heard the order. Signal all ships to fall back to minimum safe distance. The Imperial fleet began to move. Massive warships that had never known defeat slowly retreated from a smaller human force. It felt like the end of everything. A wise choice, Commander, Captain Chen said. You may remain in the outer system until the evacuation is complete. Then you will leave and not return. And if Imperial Command sends a larger fleet, then we will handle that larger fleet the same way we handled you. The humans spoke as though defeating Imperial forces was simple, as though the Empire's military might meant nothing to them. Kethfar watched his vessels retreat and wondered what his report would say. How could he explain that humanity had appeared from nowhere and forced the Empire to surrender without a real battle? More importantly, what would happen when the Emperor learned that somewhere in the galaxy there was a species that feared no Imperial power? The commander had a terrible feeling that this was only the beginning. Commander Kethfar stood in his command chamber, staring out at the human fleet. 3 days had passed since the retreat, and the evacuation of Kepler 442b was nearly finished. Terran vessels moved with precision, helping transport settlers to safety while maintaining perfect defensive positions. The commander had used the time to study these mysterious humans. What he learned disturbed him more than their superior technology. Captain Chen had been truthful. The humans made no move to attack the Imperial fleet as long as they remained at safe distance. They focused entirely on protecting the settlers, organizing evacuation efforts with efficiency that impressed even Imperial officers. But that wasn't what worried Kethfar. The humans were helping enemy civilians. Imperial philosophy taught that enemies deserved no mercy. Conquered populations were either enslaved or eliminated. The idea of protecting people who had opposed the Empire was completely foreign. Yet these Terrans worked tirelessly to save every settler. Their vessels provided medical care, food, and transport to anyone who needed it. They treated wounded Imperial prisoners with the same care as their own people. Such behavior should have indicated weakness. Instead, it seemed to make them stronger. Commander, Communications Specialist Zelith called out, "We're receiving another message from the human flagship." "Let me hear it." Captain Chen appeared on the primary screen. She looked tired but determined. Behind her, Kethfar could see human officers working at stations that seemed far more advanced than Imperial technology. "Commander, the evacuation is finished. All settlers have been safely relocated to neutral systems." "You are free to leave just like that?" Kethfar asked. "You're letting us go? We told you we would." "We keep our promises." The commander frowned. "What stops us from reporting your location to Imperial Command? From bringing a larger fleet to eliminate you?" Captain Chen smiled sadly. "Nothing, Commander. But it won't change anything. You think 13 vessels can defeat the entire Imperial Navy? I think you still don't understand what you're dealing with. May I show you something?" The viewing screen changed to display a star map. Kethfar recognized the Outer Rim territories, including the system they currently occupied. But something was wrong with the display. Red markers appeared throughout Imperial territory. Hundreds of them. Each one indicated the position of what appeared to be human vessels. "This can't be," the commander whispered. "This is just the 3rd, 7th, and 12th Commonwealth fleets," Captain Chen explained. "We have craft positioned near every major Imperial installation. Military bases, shipyards, command centers, core worlds." Kethfar felt the blood drain from his face. The red markers covered half the Empire. If the display was accurate, humanity had somehow positioned forces throughout Imperial territory without being detected. "How long have you been observing us?" "Approximately 8 years. We first learned about your empire when refugees from the Altar massacre reached our territory. Survivors told us about the systematic genocide of their people." The Altar massacre. Kethfar remembered it clearly. An entire star system cleansed of rebellious elements, 15 billion casualties. It had been one of the Empire's most efficient operations. From that moment, Chen continued, "We knew we would have to act eventually. We spent years gathering intelligence, studying your technology, preparing for this intervention. Why reveal yourselves now? Why not remain hidden? Because we're not conquerors, Commander. We don't want to rule your empire. We just want the killing to stop." Such innocence amazed Kethfar. Did these humans really believe they could change 3,000 years of Imperial philosophy through negotiation? "The Empire will never stop expanding," he said. "It's what we are. It's what we do." "Then you'll have to do it without murdering innocent civilians, and you'll enforce this? How, by threatening us with your vessels?" Captain Chen's expression grew serious. "If necessary, yes. But we'd prefer to offer you an alternative." "What alternative?" "Join the galactic community as equals. Trade instead of conquering. Explore instead of destroying. Use your strength to protect rather than oppress." The commander almost laughed. Such concepts were completely alien to Imperial thinking. The Empire ruled through strength and fear. They took what they wanted and destroyed what they couldn't use. "You don't understand," he said. "The Empire is built on conquest. Without expansion, without new resources and slave populations, our civilization would collapse, would it? Or have you simply never tried any other way? The question lingered in the air. Kethfar had never considered alternatives to Imperial philosophy. From childhood, every Superian was taught that their species was destined to rule the galaxy, that other races were inferior and existed only to serve Imperial interests. But these humans challenged everything he believed. "Show me more," he said finally. The star map changed, zooming in on specific systems. Kethfar watched in growing amazement as Captain Chen revealed the scope of human operations. Terran Commonwealth vessels had been monitoring Imperial activities across hundreds of worlds. They had documented every massacre, every slave raid, every act of genocide. They knew about secret military projects, classified research facilities, and hidden weapons programs. Most disturbing of all, they had been helping Imperial enemies. "The rebellion on Vega 7, Chen said, highlighting a system. "We provided them with defensive technology. The uprising on Centauri Station. We supplied intelligence about Imperial troop movements." Kethfar stared at the display. Those rebellions had cost the Empire significant resources. Imperial intelligence had never discovered the source of rebel technology and information. Now he knew. "You've been fighting us for years without us realizing it. We've been protecting innocent people from your Empire's aggression. There's a difference." "Not from our perspective," Captain Chen nodded. "I understand. That's why we're offering you this choice now. End the expansion campaigns. Stop the genocide. Focus on improving your own worlds instead of conquering others. And if we refuse, then every time Imperial forces attack civilian populations, you'll find us waiting." The threat was clear. Humanity had the technology, the positioning, and the determination to interfere with Imperial operations throughout the galaxy. They had already proven they could defeat Imperial fleets. But Kethfar knew his people. The Empire would never accept such restrictions voluntarily. "You're asking us to abandon everything we are," he said. "We're asking you to become something better. Emperor Valdris will never agree to this. He'll see it as weakness, as surrender. Then perhaps it's time for new leadership." The suggestion was treasonous by Imperial standards. Challenging the Emperor's authority was punishable by death. The very idea of regime change was unthinkable. Yet these humans spoke of it casually, as though overthrowing governments was routine. "You don't understand Imperial society," Kethfar said. "The Emperor's power is absolute. His bloodline has ruled for 3 millennia. Nobody questions his authority." "Someone will," Chen replied confidently. "When your people learn there's an alternative to endless war, some will choose peace. And you think you can protect those who make such choices?" "We know we can." The certainty in her voice was unsettling. These humans spoke as though they had already planned for every scenario, as though they had studied Imperial society so thoroughly that they could predict its responses. "Commander," Captain Morvix interrupted from behind him. "We're receiving priority communications from Imperial Command." Kethfar turned. "I thought the humans were blocking our signals." "They've opened a communication window," Zelith reported. "Apparently they want us to report to our superiors." The commander looked back at Captain Chen. "You're allowing us to contact Imperial Command? Of course, your Emperor needs to understand the new situation. The sooner he learns about us, the sooner he can make intelligent decisions." Such confidence was either admirable or insane. These humans were deliberately revealing themselves to the most powerful military force in the galaxy. They were essentially declaring war on the Empire, while outnumbered by thousands to 1, unless they weren't actually outnumbered. "How many vessels do you really command?" Kethfar asked. "Sufficient," Chen replied, using the same word as before. "That's not an answer. It's the only answer you need. What matters is that we're here. We're committed to stopping Imperial genocide, and we have the technology to back up our words." The communication alert chimed again. Imperial Command was demanding an immediate report. "Take the call, Commander," Captain Chen said. "Tell your superiors what happened here. Explain that humanity is offering the Empire a choice between coexistence and conflict. And if they choose conflict, then we'll give them conflict. But we'll do everything possible to protect innocent lives in the process." Kethfar studied the human captain's face. She showed no fear, no uncertainty. These people truly believed they could challenge the Empire and win. Perhaps they were right. "Open the channel," he ordered. Emperor Valdris the Eternal appeared on screen. He was ancient even by Superior standards. His scaled skin was pale with age, but his eyes still burned with the authority of absolute power. "Commander Kethfar," the Emperor said, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. "Explain your delay in completing the Kepler operation." The commander took a deep breath. Your Majesty, we have encountered an unknown enemy, a species called humans from a world called Earth. Unknown enemy? Impossible. Our intelligence networks cover the entire galaxy. Nevertheless, Majesty, they exist and they possess superior technology. The Emperor's expression grew dangerous. Are you telling me that the 7th Battle Group has been defeated by unknown aliens? We were persuaded to withdraw, Majesty. They demanded we stop the attack and allow civilian evacuation, and you complied with enemy demands? The words hung in the air like a death sentence. No Imperial officer had ever admitted to following enemy orders. Yes, Majesty. Their technological superiority left us no choice. Emperor Valdris was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the promise of terrible punishment. Return to Imperial territory immediately. You will face a full military tribunal for your failure. Yes, Majesty. And Commander, prepare a full report on these humans. If they truly pose a threat to the Empire, they will be eliminated completely. The transmission ended. Kethfar turned back to Captain Chen, who had been listening to the entire conversation. You heard him, the commander said. The Empire will send everything they have to destroy you. We're counting on it, she replied calmly. That makes no sense. Why would you want to face the full Imperial Navy? Captain Chen smiled, and for the first time Kethfar saw something almost predatory in her expression. Because when we defeat your entire military, nobody in the galaxy will doubt that the age of Imperial genocide is over. The commander felt a chill run down his spine. These humans weren't just defending settlers. They were planning to end the Empire itself, and they seemed confident they could do it. Emperor Valdris the Eternal sat on his throne of crystallized bone, reading Commander Kethfar's full report for the 3rd time. The massive chamber around him was carved from a single asteroid, its walls decorated with trophies from 1,000 conquered worlds. The report made no sense. An unknown species had appeared from nowhere and forced an Imperial fleet to retreat. They possessed technology beyond anything in the Empire's vast databases. They claimed to come from a world called Earth, which didn't exist on any star chart. Most disturbing of all, they had issued demands to the Empire itself. Summon Grand Admiral Thexmore, the Emperor commanded. His personal guards, towering figures in black armor, moved to obey. Within minutes, the Empire's highest military officer stood before the throne. Grand Admiral Thexmore was old, experienced, and had never lost a battle. His multiple arms bore the scars of countless campaigns. His eyes held the cold wisdom of someone who had personally overseen the destruction of entire species. Your Majesty, Thexmore said, bowing precisely. Read this. Valdris handed him the report. Tell me what you think. The Grand Admiral studied the document carefully. His expression grew increasingly troubled as he read about human technology and their impossible demands. If this report is accurate, Thexmore said finally, we face a threat unlike any in Imperial history. Do you believe it's accurate? Commander Kethfar is no coward. He's commanded successful campaigns for 4 decades. If he says these humans possess superior technology, I'm inclined to believe him. Emperor Valdris rose from his throne and walked to the massive window overlooking his capital city. Below, billions of Superians went about their daily lives, secure in the knowledge that their empire was supreme. How is this possible? The Emperor asked. Our scouts have surveyed the entire galactic sector. No advanced civilizations exist beyond our borders. Perhaps they come from beyond our surveyed regions. Or perhaps their stealth technology is so advanced that our scouts never detected them. The thought was disturbing. If humans could hide from Imperial sensors, what else might be lurking in unexplored space? What do you recommend? Valdris asked. We must respond with overwhelming force. Assemble the 1st, 2nd, and 5th fleets. Over 300 vessels. Whatever technology these humans possess, they cannot stand against the combined might of our greatest fleets. The Emperor nodded. Do it, Thexmore. I want these humans completely destroyed. Not conquered, not enslaved. Eliminated entirely. It will be done, Majesty. 3 weeks later, the largest Imperial fleet in centuries assembled at the staging point of Riel Station. 317 warships, including 12 dreadnoughts and the Emperor's personal flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Grand Admiral Thexmore stood on the bridge of his command vessel, reviewing final preparations. Intelligence reports indicated the humans were still in the Kepler 442 system, apparently making no effort to hide or retreat. Such confidence was either supreme arrogance or supreme power. All fleets report ready, his aide announced. Begin hyperspace jump, Thexmore ordered. The massive fleet entered hyperspace in perfect formation. The journey to Kepler 442 would take 6 hours. When they arrived, these mysterious humans would face the full wrath of the Empire. In the Kepler system, Captain Chen stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching her tactical displays. Commonwealth sensors had been tracking Imperial fleet movements for weeks. The response was exactly what they had predicted. Admiral Torres reports the task force is in position, her communications officer announced. Excellent. Signal all vessels to maintain stealth until the Imperials arrive. We want them fully committed before we reveal our strength. Yes, Captain. Chen studied the tactical display showing the positions of Terran Commonwealth craft throughout the system. The Imperials would be expecting to find a small force of 50 or 60 vessels. They would instead face something far different. Captain, her tactical officer said. Hyperspace distortions detected. Multiple large vessels incoming. Here we go. All stations prepare for combat operations. The Imperial fleet materialized at the edge of the Kepler system in a display of force that would have terrified any normal enemy. 300 massive warships arranged in perfect attack formation, their combined firepower capable of sterilizing entire worlds. Grand Admiral Thexmore studied his sensor readings with satisfaction. The human fleet was exactly where intelligence reports indicated. Approximately 60 craft clustered around the colony world. Signal all vessels, he commanded. Attack formation Gamma. Target every human craft. I want complete destruction in the first attack wave. The Imperial fleet moved forward like an unstoppable tide. Every vessel charged weapons to maximum power. Missile tubes loaded with planet-killer warheads. Energy cannons prepared to unleash destruction beyond comprehension. On the Retribution, Captain Chen watched the Imperial approach with calm professionalism. They're not even attempting to communicate, her tactical officer observed. No, they've come here to commit genocide. Let's show them the price of that choice. She opened a fleet-wide channel. All Commonwealth craft, this is Chen. Execute Planhammer. Show them what humanity can do. Throughout the Kepler system, space began to shimmer. Grand Admiral Thexmore watched his sensors in growing confusion as energy readings spiked beyond all known scales. Space itself seemed to be rippling around the Imperial fleet. Report, he demanded. Commander, massive energy buildups throughout the system. Unknown sources. The readings are impossible. Define impossible. Energy levels that exceed our measurement capabilities, and they're coming from everywhere. The first Commonwealth vessel decloaked directly before the Imperial flagship. It was massive. Larger than any human craft they had previously encountered. Its weapons were already charging. Then another craft appeared. And another. Within seconds, space around the Imperial fleet was filled with Terran Commonwealth vessels. Not dozens this time, hundreds. How many craft are there? Thexmore whispered. Commander, over 400 vessels and more are still decloaking. Impossible. The Grand Admiral stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The humans hadn't just matched Imperial numbers. They had exceeded them significantly. This can't be. Intelligence said they had 60 vessels. Commander, it appears intelligence was wrong. A communication signal reached the Imperial flagship. Grand Admiral Thexmore accepted it, wondering what these humans would say. A new face appeared on screen. This human was older than Captain Chen, with gray hair and the bearing of supreme military authority. Imperial forces, this is Admiral Rosa Torres commanding the Terran Commonwealth First Fleet. You have entered this system with obvious hostile intent. You will immediately stand down and prepare to be boarded. Boarded? Thexmore couldn't believe what he was hearing. You dare to demand our surrender? I demand nothing. I'm offering you the chance to survive this encounter. Your choice. The Grand Admiral studied his tactical situation. The Imperial fleet was surrounded, outnumbered, and facing technology they didn't understand. But the Empire had never surrendered, never. All vessels, he commanded. Open fire, destroy every human craft. The Imperial fleet unleashed everything they had. Thousands of missiles, energy beams, and particle streams converged on the Commonwealth vessels. The human craft absorbed the barrage without visible effect. Impossible, Thexmore breathed. Admiral Torres's voice returned, colder now. Your turn is over. Now it's ours. The Commonwealth fleet fired simultaneously. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. Imperial vessels simply ceased to exist. The human weapons were so advanced that most Imperial craft never even registered being hit. They were there one moment, gone the next. In less than 10 minutes, over half the Imperial fleet was destroyed. All vessels retreat, Grand Admiral Thexmore ordered desperately. Commander, our hyperspace drives are being blocked. We can't jump. The humans weren't just destroying Imperial vessels. They were controlling the battlefield completely. The most powerful fleet in Imperial history was trapped like animals in a cage. Admiral Torres, Thexmore called out on the communication channel. We surrender. Please stop the attack. The Commonwealth vessels ceased firing immediately. A wise choice, Torres replied. All Imperial craft will power down weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any vessel that fails to comply will be destroyed. Thexmore looked around his bridge. His crew stared at him in shock. An Imperial Grand Admiral had just surrendered to enemy forces. It was unprecedented in 3,000 years of history. But the alternative was complete annihilation. All vessels comply with enemy demands, he ordered quietly. The boarding process was swift and professional. Commonwealth troops moved through Imperial vessels with practiced efficiency, securing weapons and taking key personnel into custody. Grand Admiral Thexmore found himself face-to-face with Admiral Torres in the Retribution's conference room. The human commander was smaller than most Superians, but her presence filled the space. Your empire has a choice, Torres said without preamble. End the expansion campaigns. Stop the genocide of civilian populations. Focus on internal development instead of conquest. And if we refuse, then we will end your expansion for you. Thexmore studied the human admiral. Like Captain Chen, she showed no doubt, no uncertainty. These people truly believed they could dictate terms to the Empire. How many vessels do you really command? He asked. Enough to protect every civilian population in Imperial territory. Enough to stop every genocide campaign. Enough to defeat any fleet you send against us. The Emperor will never accept this. Then the Emperor will learn that his reign of terror is over. The words hit Thexmore like a physical blow. These humans weren't just challenging Imperial military philosophy. They were threatening the foundation of Imperial civilization itself. You're talking about war on a galactic scale, he said. We're talking about ending war on a galactic scale. No more conquest. No more slavery. No more genocide. The choice is yours. Admiral Torres stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, the remains of the Imperial fleet hung in space like broken toys. We will be releasing your surviving crews, she said. They can return to Imperial territory with a message. The Terran Commonwealth is offering the Empire one final chance to change, to become something better than a force of destruction. And if we choose to fight, Torres turned back to face him, then we will fight. And we will win. Because we have something your Empire lacks. Superior technology? Something more important. We know what we're fighting for. Grand Admiral Thexmore was silent for a long moment. In 3 decades of military service, he had conquered dozens of worlds and destroyed countless enemies. He had never questioned Imperial philosophy or Imperial goals, but these humans forced him to think about things he had never considered. What was the Empire really fighting for? What was the point of endless conquest and destruction? The Emperor will send every vessel in the Imperial Navy against you, he said finally. We're counting on it, Torres replied with a slight smile. The same confidence, the same certainty. These humans seemed to welcome the prospect of facing the entire Imperial military, as if they had been planning for exactly that outcome all along. Thexmore realized with growing dread that humanity had set a trap. They had revealed themselves, demonstrated their power, and now they were deliberately provoking the Empire into a massive response. But why would they want to face the full Imperial Navy, unless they were absolutely certain they would win? Emperor Valdris the Eternal stood in his war room, staring at the holographic display showing the complete destruction of his greatest fleets. The reports were beyond belief. Over 300 Imperial warships destroyed or captured by unknown human forces. Grand Admiral Thexmore's surviving vessels had limped back to Imperial territory with news that shattered everything Valdris thought he knew about the galaxy. How many human vessels did they report? The Emperor asked his intelligence chief. Over 400 confirmed, Majesty. But Admiral Torres suggested they have many more. 400 vessels with technology superior to anything the Empire possessed. The implications were staggering. What about our client species? Are any of them showing signs of rebellion? The intelligence chief's expression grew troubled. Several systems have stopped responding to Imperial commands, Majesty. The Ilarians, the vegan colonies, the Centauri Federation. They seem to be waiting to see what happens next. The Empire's client species were already sensing weakness. 3,000 years of fear-based control was cracking after a single human victory. And our own population? There are rumors, Majesty. Stories about aliens who protect civilians instead of conquering them. Some citizens are asking why the Empire doesn't follow similar policies. Valdris felt rage building in his chest. His own people were beginning to question Imperial philosophy. The humans had planted seeds of doubt that could grow into full rebellion. Summon the High Council, he commanded. We will discuss our response to this human threat. The High Council consisted of the Empire's most senior military and political leaders. They gathered in the ancient chamber where decisions affecting billions of lives were made. Honored counselors, Emperor Valdris began, we face an unprecedented crisis. An unknown species has challenged Imperial authority and demonstrated the ability to defeat our finest fleets. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several counselors looked genuinely frightened. What are our options, Majesty? Asked Admiral Vexar, commander of the Imperial Navy's remaining forces. We have one option, the Emperor replied coldly. Complete mobilization. Every vessel. Every weapon. Every soldier. We will assemble the largest military force in galactic history and crush these humans completely. Majesty, interjected Counselor Ralvin. Perhaps we should consider negotiation. The humans have offered terms. Negotiation is surrender, Valdris snapped. The Empire does not negotiate with inferior species. But are they inferior? Ralvin asked quietly. Their technology appears far more advanced than ours. The question hung in the air like heresy. The foundation of Imperial ideology was Zephyrian superiority. If humans were technologically superior, what did that mean for Imperial civilization? Irrelevant, the Emperor said. We will overcome their technology through superior numbers and tactics. Majesty, Admiral Vexar said carefully. Our total remaining fleet strength is approximately 800 craft. If the humans truly have 400 vessels with their demonstrated capabilities, the outcome of such a battle would be uncertain. Then we use other weapons, Valdris declared. Activate the Void Hammer project. Silence fell over the chamber. The Void Hammer was the Empire's most classified weapon system. A planet killer so powerful it could destroy entire star systems. Majesty, Counselor Ralvin protested. The Void Hammer is untested. The energy requirements are enormous, and using it would violate every treaty in the galaxy. Treaties signed with species we conquered, the Emperor replied. If we destroy the human homeworld, their fleet will have no base of operations. They will be forced to surrender or face extinction. The plan was simple and brutal. Locate Earth, deploy the Void Hammer. Eliminate humanity entirely. Without their homeworld, the human fleet would become refugees with no place to retreat. Begin immediate preparations, Valdris ordered. I want the Void Hammer ready for deployment within 60 days. The High Council dispersed to carry out the Emperor's commands. But several counselors exchanged worried glances as they left. The Emperor's plan could destroy humanity, but it could also trigger a galactic war that would consume billions of lives. In the Kepler system, Admiral Torres received reports about Imperial military movements throughout their territory. Commonwealth intelligence networks had infiltrated most major Imperial installations years ago. They're mobilizing everything, Captain Chen reported. Every available vessel is being recalled to core Imperial territory. Expected, Torres replied. What about the Void Hammer? Our sources confirm they're activating the project. Estimated completion in 6 weeks. Torres nodded grimly. The Void Hammer was exactly the type of weapon they had expected the Empire to deploy when faced with extinction. A planet killer designed to destroy entire worlds. Signal Earth Command, she ordered. Tell them to begin Phase 3. Yes, Admiral. Phase 3 was the Commonwealth's final strategy. They had spent years preparing for exactly this scenario. The Empire would attempt to destroy Earth, and humanity would show them the true scope of their mistake. On Earth, President Sarah Martinez received Admiral Torres's message in the underground command center beneath Geneva. Around her, the planet's greatest military and scientific minds worked to coordinate humanity's response to the Imperial threat. How long until the Imperial fleet reaches Earth? She asked. Approximately 4 weeks, replied General Harrison, Earth's military commander. Their fleet is massive. Over 800 vessels plus the Void Hammer. Are our defenses ready? More than ready, Madam President. The Sol defense grid is fully operational. Every Commonwealth fleet is in position. When the Imperials arrive, they'll find more than they bargained for. Earth's transformation over the past 8 years had been remarkable. The entire solar system had become a fortress designed to protect humanity's homeworld. Orbital stations, automated defense platforms, and hidden weapon systems filled every strategic position. But the real surprise was hidden in deep space, beyond Imperial sensor range. The Imperial fleet assembled at Proxima Station, the closest major installation to human territory. Emperor Valdris himself commanded from the bridge of the Void Hammer, a massive vessel larger than most space stations. "Status report," he demanded. "All fleets report ready, Majesty," Admiral Vexar replied. 843 vessels. The largest force in Imperial history. The Emperor studied the tactical display showing his massive fleet. Such firepower could conquer entire galactic sectors. No species had ever faced such concentrated military might. "Begin hyperspace jump to Earth," he commanded. The Imperial Armada entered hyperspace in perfect formation. When they emerged in the Sol system, humanity would face complete annihilation. The journey took 6 hours. When the Imperial fleet materialized at the edge of Earth's solar system, Emperor Valdris expected to find a primitive world defended by scattered vessels. Instead, he found something that defied comprehension. The entire solar system blazed with energy signatures. Massive orbital platforms surrounded Earth like a protective shell. Weapon stations the size of asteroids guarded every approach route. Defensive fields flickered with power that exceeded Imperial measurement capabilities. "Report," the Emperor demanded, his voice tight with control. "Majesty," the sensor officer replied shakily. "I count over 2,000 defensive installations. Power readings are impossible. 2,000 installations." The humans had turned their entire solar system into the most heavily defended location in galactic history. "And their fleet? No vessels detected within the inner system, Majesty." That was strange. Where were the human craft that had defeated Imperial forces? Emperor Valdris studied the tactical display. Despite the impressive defenses, he still commanded the largest military force ever assembled. Numbers had to count for something. "All vessels, attack formation," he ordered. "Target the orbital platforms first. Clear a path to the planet." The Imperial fleet moved forward like an unstoppable tide. 800 warships advanced on Earth's defenses, weapons charging to maximum power. The orbital platforms opened fire first. What emerged from Earth's defenses wasn't energy beams or missiles. It was pure destruction, weapons that manipulated matter at the quantum level, turning Imperial vessels into rapidly expanding clouds of particles. "Impossible," the Emperor whispered. His fleet was being destroyed faster than sensors could track. Vessels that had never known defeat simply ceased to exist. The human defensive technology was beyond anything in Imperial databases. "All vessels, evasive maneuvers," Admiral Vexar ordered desperately. "Negative," Emperor Valdris countermanded. "Continue the attack. Deploy the Void Hammer." The massive planet killer moved toward Earth, its ultimate weapon charging. If they could destroy the human homeworld, the defensive platforms would become irrelevant. But as the Void Hammer approached firing range, space around the Imperial fleet began to shimmer. "Majesty," the sensor officer reported in a voice filled with terror. "Massive hyperspace signatures. Multiple fleets incoming." Human vessels began materializing throughout the solar system, not hundreds this time. Thousands. Fleet after fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect coordination. The Commonwealth's true strength was finally revealed. Over 3,000 craft, each one more advanced than the Empire's finest vessels. "This is Admiral Torres," a familiar voice announced on all frequencies. "Imperial forces, you are surrounded and outmatched. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Emperor Valdris stared at the tactical display in disbelief. 3,000 human vessels. Their technology was superior. Their coordination was flawless. His invincible fleet was trapped in the most heavily defended system in the galaxy. "Commander," Admiral Vexar said quietly, "recommend immediate retreat." "There is no retreat," Valdris replied coldly. "We fight until victory or death." "Majesty, we cannot win this battle. Then we will make them pay for their victory. Fire the Void Hammer." The planet killer's ultimate weapon charged to full power. If Emperor Valdris could not conquer Earth, he would destroy it completely. But as the Void Hammer prepared to fire, something impossible happened. The massive weapon simply stopped working. Every system shut down simultaneously. "What's happening?" the Emperor demanded. "Commander, external interference. Something is overriding our computer systems." A new voice filled the bridge. Young, confident, and speaking with an accent Valdris had never heard. "Emperor Valdris, this is Dr. Sarah Kim, Earth's Chief Technology Officer. I've taken control of your weapon systems. Your vessel is now under our command. Computer override." The humans had somehow seized control of Imperial technology remotely. Such capability was beyond anything the Empire had imagined possible. Impossible, the Emperor whispered. The Commonwealth has been studying your technology for 8 years, Dr. Kim explained. Every system, every weapon, every defense. We know how it all works. More importantly, we know how to turn it off. Throughout the Imperial fleet, vessels began shutting down. Weapons powered down. Shields collapsed. Life support remained active. But every military system was now controlled by human operators. How? Valdris asked. Admiral Torres's voice returned. Because we're not conquerors, Emperor. We're protectors, and we've been preparing for this day since we first learned about your Empire's crimes. The human fleet moved into boarding positions. Thousands of craft surrounding the helpless Imperial armada like predators claiming their prey. You have a choice, Torres continued. Surrender now and face trial for your crimes, or resist and be destroyed completely. Emperor Valdris looked around his bridge. His crew stared at him with expressions mixing fear and disbelief. The Empire's ultimate weapon was useless. Their fleet was trapped. Their technology had been completely compromised. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Empire faced an enemy they could not defeat. I surrender, he said quietly. The words felt like poison in his mouth. No emperor had ever surrendered. No Imperial force had ever admitted defeat. But the alternative was annihilation. Over the following months, the galaxy transformed completely. The Empire's client species declared independence. Imperial governors were arrested by Commonwealth forces. The vast military machine that had terrorized the galaxy for 3 millennia simply collapsed. Emperor Valdris faced trial for genocide at a special tribunal on Earth. His crimes were documented in detail. Billions of civilian deaths. Countless destroyed civilizations. Systematic slavery and oppression. The verdict was inevitable. But the Commonwealth's punishment was unexpected. Instead of execution, Valdris and other Imperial leaders were sentenced to community service. They would spend the rest of their lives helping rebuild the worlds they had destroyed. Captain Chen, now promoted to Admiral, stood in the Commonwealth's new headquarters overlooking Earth's Pacific Ocean. Through the massive windows, she could see vessels from dozens of species arriving and departing. Former Imperial worlds were now free members of the Galactic Federation. Any regrets? Admiral Torres asked, joining her at the window. About ending 3,000 years of oppression? No, Chen replied. About the lives lost in the process? Yes. The human victory had not been bloodless. Thousands of Commonwealth personnel had died liberating Imperial worlds. The price of freedom was always high. What's next? Torres asked. Exploration, Chen said with a smile. The galaxy is full of species we've never met, worlds we've never seen. Now that the Empire's expansion has ended, we can focus on discovery instead of destruction. And if we encounter hostile species, then we'll do what we always do. Protect the innocent. Defend the helpless. Show them that there's a better way. Admiral Chen turned back to the window. In the distance, a Commonwealth exploration vessel was departing for the Galactic Rim. Its mission was peaceful contact with unknown civilizations. The Age of Empires was over. The Age of Exploration had begun. Somewhere among the stars, other species would learn what humanity had taught the galaxy. That strength should be used to protect, not conquer. That technology should serve life, not destroy it. And that sometimes the galaxy's worst fear could become its greatest hope. Earth's warships continued their patrols. But now they carried a different message. Not the threat of conquest, but the promise of protection. The stars were safe, and humanity stood watch.